It's the mental jump that you have to take to say, there's something better out there, so let's go find and do it.
Originating from deep inside the Rocky Mountains, transported through the power of the internet, and arriving inside your tiny earbuds. It's the Appraiser Coach Podcast, helping appraisers increase their efficiency, quality, and make more money. Here's the guy who makes it his life's mission to create value for real estate appraisers nationwide. Your host and the Appraiser Coach, Dustin Harris.
Welcome to the program, everyone. Dustin Harris, your humble host, back with you again for another Appraiser Coach podcast. I have a great friend and a great guest coming up, but first I want to pause and remind you of three great sponsors. First of all, of course, Synapse. Synapse is helping you to support your adjustments. Folks, it's something we all need. Check them out. Go to sparkforappraisers.com and check on the Synapse button. Alamode, of course, is causing you to be more efficient. Why? Well, the built-in tools in Alamode makes it number one in the world for report writing software. Go to alamode.com or 800-ALAMODE for more information. And OREP Insurance. OREP, of course, is my E&O. It should be yours as well, with the great benefits that come with OREP. Check them out by going to their website and looking at their benefits. Their website, of course, is orep.org. It's OREP.org. Well, I want to welcome back to the program a good friend of mine, appraiser out of Texas, a member of my mastermind group, Mr. Jim Stafford. Welcome back, Jim.
Hey, it's great to be here with you.
Good to have you. Jim is an advocate for using technology to its fullest during the appraisal process. He enjoys teaching other appraisers how they can save time and money while delivering a credible appraisal report. He is a Texas certified appraiser with over 27 years of experience. Jim, of course, has worked with large mortgage lenders, Wall Street firms, and Fannie Mae, developing a deep knowledge of their requirements and guidelines. In addition to working with other appraisers to improve their processes, he also currently owns and runs a real estate appraisal office located in Frisco, Texas. Welcome back, Jim. Sure good to have you.
It's good to be here. It's always nice.
We're actually going to do a series here. I guess you can call it a series. Is two a series? Two podcasts in a row? Is that a series, Jim?
I guess so, yeah.
I guess so. We'll call it a series. We're going to do a couple different podcasts together, one this week and one next week. But the first one, you reached out to me and said, I kind of like acronyms. And you came with a couple of acronyms that I want to go through, which I think teach some really important principles. So let's dive in. Let's talk first about HARD. And when I say HARD, we're talking the acronym HARD. What does it stand for, my friend?
Exactly. It was where I was about 3 years ago.
Okay.
And that is hate appraising, really don't, which I actually like the appraisal process. You enjoy it, but everything that goes along with running your business, with dealing with lenders, dealing with the borrowers, dealing with everything, it's a 9 or 10 hour a day job. And it just gets, you get burned out. You just start hating it, right? It becomes hard. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of what HARD stands for.
So, HARD and hate, I guess, is a strong word, right?
Yeah.
You said this is where you were 3 years ago. Let's talk about that a little bit. Were you really at the point of hating your job, or was it just difficult?
No, it wasn't. We hate aspects of it. We could say that. We hate parts of it because the parts that we enjoy seem to be much more smaller areas of what we're spending our day on. I got to the point where I was doing busy work. Busy work that wasn't making me any money. I was spending very little part of the day doing the actual appraisal process, the parts that I really enjoy. Looking at the house, looking at the data, doing the analysis. But I was so sick of calling and recalling and, making multiple calls to try to get things scheduled, dealing with revision requests, calling this client, calling that client, all this busy stuff that was eating up most of my day, and life became hard. And that's when I reached out to you.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about, what does that look like in practice? You mentioned a couple things you like to do. You like seeing the houses. You like doing the analysis. You mentioned one thing you don't like, and that is, chasing people down for an appointment. Right?
Yeah.
But talk to us about more. What does the day-to-day look like for someone working in the HARD process?
I'll go back to what it looked like for me. And this is a classic example. Was I'd be out on an inspection. I'd be enjoying life. I'm doing measuring, I'm taking photos, talking to people. That's what I enjoy. And I love pulling comps, doing the analysis, but I'm out on an inspection and my email dings. and it shows you have a revision request.
I was going to say, if it's a new order, that should be an exciting thing, right?
Right. So it's a revision request. And then now I'm worrying about it. The whole time I'm finishing up my inspection, I have to run back to the office real fast to pull up that email, figure out what they want. And it's some kind of nitpicky little thing that they want corrected or they want changed because that was in their requirements. But so since I did the whole process, since I started the file, pulled comps, looked at the house, did the reconciliation, submitted it off. I was the only person looking at that file the whole time. So there wasn't a third person out there saying, hey, we need to make this little change here, or this thing's going to get sent back. Yeah. So there's a lot of little revision requests back there that would just, every time you got a revision request, I don't care how easy it was, that was an hour out of my day back then.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
Very, very not fun to deal with constantly.
I love that. Very, very not fun to deal with.
Yeah, very not fun to deal with. But
Jim, you talk about a lot of appraisers who are kind of in this world, and I think I see that. I've been in that world, right? I did things like every other appraiser for 12 years, and I have to say I completely relate to what you're talking about. I now peruse the internet, if you will, social media. There's a lot of appraiser groups out there. I see a lot of complaints, and this is the kind of thing they're complaining about, right? The revision requests, the low fees, the AMCs, the people at the AMCs who may not know what they're talking about. I already put that in the report. If you would just read page 36, volume, paragraph 3, sentence 2. And I think a lot of appraisers are frustrated because, and I think I hear what you're saying, right, Jim? You're saying maybe these things need to be done, but as we're going to talk about when we get back from the break, they don't necessarily have to be done by you.
Exactly. And that's where the easy comes in. That's when life becomes easy.
Okay, we're going to talk about easy when we get back from the break. Of course, that being an acronym as well, so that you can remember these principles. But first, I want to pause. Remind you of some three great companies that are sponsors here at the Appraiser Coach Podcast. One of them, well, we've already referred to, a la mode. A la mode, of course, is helping you to do more. It helps you to do more, folks, because if you look at any other software out there, report writing software for appraisers, right? They all have some great things. I highly respect and look up to these companies, the people within these companies. I rub shoulders with them at conferences, folks, but there's a reason that a la mode leads the pack, and they lead the pack in the smart tools that they have built into their program. Many of them don't even cost any extra to use, right? These wonderful things like, I'll just give you a really brief example, being able to detach your actual addendum from your report, put it on a different screen, and write the addendum as you're writing the report. Folks, it sounds simple, and it is, but it's huge. The time savings, the amount of stress that relieves when you're working with a software like this. Check them out, folks. You need to. alamode.com or 800 alamode. Many of us have been worried over the last couple of years about our adjustments. We've been worried about state boards. We've been worried about how do you defend $65 a square foot? Is that accurate? Maybe it should be 75. Maybe it should be 45. Maybe it should be 25. How do you know what adjustment to use? Well, folks, if you're not using a great program like Synapse, you need to check them out. Synapse is the leader in adjustment justification. I'm going to call it that, because I think it fits. How do you justify the adjustments that you are making? Synapse will help you to come up with those adjustments, and they will be based on data that you can utilize to support what you do. Folks, that is huge. How many of you turn in your reports and you're a little bit fearful that someone's going to ask where that adjustment came from? Synapse will help you to answer if that question is asked. It will support your work file. It'll support your adjustments. It is Synapse, and you can find out more by going to spark4appraisers.com and clicking on the Synapse button. Finally, we are sponsored by OREP Insurance. I've been with OREP for many, many years, folks, and I've been very, very happy and very, very pleased. I've worked with them on many, many different levels, folks. These are people. It's a great company, but there's great people behind the company who love appraisers, support appraisers, and have benefits that no other company has. Check them out by going to their website at orep.org. That's OREP.org. All right, folks, welcome back to the program. We're talking with my good friend, Mr. Jim Stafford. Welcome back, Jim.
Thank you for having me.
Very good to have you, my friend. We're talking about kind of two different dichotomies, if you will. You've got the hard way of doing appraisals. And Jim, let's just face it. And my calculations, they could be wrong, but I deal with a lot of appraisers on a lot of different levels. I would say that north of 80% of appraisers are probably in the realm of what we're talking about when we talk about hard, meaning they're doing everything themselves. They're doing a lot of things the way that their mentor taught them. They're doing things the best they know how, but the best they know how is the old school way of doing things. Would you agree?
Oh, I would totally agree. Everybody that I talk to that comes to me that wants to be more efficient, that's where they are.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first step is you're looking for efficiency.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's what I see is I'm working 9-10 hour days. I feel like this shouldn't be taking as long. Is there a better way?
Yeah.
And I tell them, yeah. So let's look at processes and procedures.
Right, exactly. Yeah, no, I feel the same thing. When people come to me for coaching, often it's because they are working those 10-hour days that you talked about. And we're not talking Monday through Friday, Jim. We're talking 10-hour days,
Oh, yeah.
7 days a week, right?
I raised my hand.
Yeah, for sure.
I was working 10-hour days, 7 days a week before I went down this road.
And it's no wonder they're angry, right? It's no wonder that they're upset.
Before I decided, it's almost like skydiving. I remember the first time I went skydiving, my thought process of jumping off a perfectly good plane for the first time was just absolutely
Terrifying.
my brain, basically. But I wanted to do it, and once I did it, and I got on the ground, I was like, "Hey, that's not too bad. I really like that. Let's go do it again." So it's the mental jump that you have to take to say there's something better out there. So let's go find and do it.
And before we get into the EASY acronym, I want to make one other point as well, Jim. Many, and we've talked about this on this program before, but I want to just put it on the table because it's not so much about appraisers not knowing how to make that jump. A lot of them don't think it's possible. And follow me on this. Not just that it's not possible because, oh, well, that's impossible. I'm talking about not possible because, well, can I even do that? Can I delegate things? I thought an appraiser, if they sign their name at the bottom of an appraisal, that means they have to 100% do everything from start to finish, which, Jim, is not true, right?
No, I'm going to tell you a little story about a friend that we both know, a good friend of ours. He was in the same boat. He was working 40, 50, 60 hours a week, burned out. He came to one of our meetings, just completely burned out. And we kept telling him, you need to get a VA. You need to get a VA. Yeah, I know. He finally did.
Mm-hmm.
He works on the average between 20 and 25 hours a week and makes more money.
More money.
Yeah, more money than he did before he made those changes.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, you're exactly right. That's a truth.
I'm not the only one. I see it every day. I talk to people weekly or monthly, and for each little thing that they're able to incorporate, it just makes life that much better for them.
Amen. Amen. Okay, let's talk about this then. We've teased it enough. We talked about the hard way. Let's talk about the easy way, Jim.
Easy way. Easy way stands for eliminate, automate, staff, and you.
Okay.
And you have to visualize it as a pyramid. So the base, the foundation is to eliminate every process that absolutely is not critical or is duplicated.
Okay.
The easy explanation is sketching out a house. Instead of having it sketched out twice, they're at the house, and then when you come back to your office, putting it into your software program, just sketch it out at the house, put your room labels in, upload it to the cloud, download it to the cloud. All your photos are labeled and everything's done for you.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm glad you used that analogy because I've used that for a long time and talked about how if you're not using mobile, then you're inspecting twice, right? You're inspecting at the house, and then you come back and virtually have to redo the whole thing because you have to take your chicken scratches and put them into the report. Silly.
Exactly. Eliminate paper. So I was just at a house yesterday. Lady gave me a list of upgrades that she did. I said, okay. I took my phone. If you have iOS, if you go into the notes into iOS, you can actually scan a picture to make it a document, and then you can directly put it into your work file that way. So you never actually have to worry about touching that paper.
Exactly.
Take it from, you get it in your work file instantly, and you're done. So
you know what's funny about that, Jim, is I do that, and 9 times out of 10, the homeowner says, well, don't you want to take the paper too? No, I don't.
I take the paper and put it in my recycling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So that's
It's not just about eliminating things like paper, but you're also talking about eliminating processes that we do. I call it the ends of the ham principle, right? You've heard me tell that story that I won't break it down here, but the lady that cuts off the ends of the ham and they trace that back. Why do we do that? Why do we do that? Well, just because that's the way grandma did it, and that's the way great grandma did it. And eventually it got to the point. Well, yeah, but our oven, the ham wouldn't fit in our oven. It had nothing to do with something that was even something important today, because it just gets passed down from generation to generation. Eliminate the stuff that is not necessary.
So when I first started, I learned to measure from the front right corner, go clockwise all the way around, because you held your measuring tape was Velcroed to your clipboard. That was in your left hand.
Yeah.
And you'd pull it across, and then you'd write your number. You do your line and write your number with the right hand. With the laser, I can start in the middle of a house and go every which way. So it's a total, it's constantly learning new ways to do things.
Yeah. And one of the things that's interesting, Jim, is when you say something like this, I know what a lot of appraisers are thinking. And what they're thinking is, well, Jim, that's a silly thing. What does it matter where you start? The laser's going to save you 3 minutes per report. Big deal, right? And what would you say to somebody like that? Because I get this all the time.
Yeah. So what I tell people is I want to save you 1 minute, 30 times per report. multiply that times the number of reports you do, and we're talking days of time savings.
Yeah, for sure.
For
For
the
sure.
year.
Yeah.
And
All
if we don't look at those little small things, that's where it takes up time.
So
So
first one, E, is eliminate. What is A?
yep. So eliminate is the base. The next level is automate. So what things can we automate? What about you accept your case, you hit a button, it goes into your whatever system that you use to track your cases without having to enter any data.
Wait a second. You can do that?
That data automatically flows over.
Hmm.
I have a system I use that does that. That's an automation there, doing all the mathematics on the reconciliation of the sales approach is all automated, as you know. Again, we're not talking 30 or 40 minutes a report, we're talking 10, but you do 10 reports a week. I mean, that's 100 minutes.
Yep.
That's
That's a
a
lot.
couple hours.
That's
That's a couple hours that you get to spend with your family.
That's a round of golf right there, isn't it?
Yeah. So, and there's a lot more automations, just like I said, Total for Mobile that I use has a lot of automations in it if you use that program to its fullest.
Perfect. Staff is the next one. S stands for staff. I know a lot of appraisers are opposed to that. That's kind of what I alluded to earlier. Wait a second. If I put my name on something, I've got to do it all myself. Yeah. So how can a staff member help me?
So let's back up here just a second. I was at the automated stage. I had a whole bunch of stuff automated, and I was still living the hard life, right?
Okay.
That only got me so far. What I learned about adding staff is the best way to think about it is you're adding time to your day. You're paying for additional time during the day when you add staff, because they can do all those really busy work stuff that just sucks up your day. As long as you're paying them a less price per hour, basically, fee per hour, than you would make otherwise. Like I've gotten to the point where I have an assistant that I make 10 times more an hour than I pay her per hour.
Wow.
Simply because she does all that busy work for me. And that's the critical point is what I found in myself and other people is we can be as efficient as we can be on our own, but it's not until we bring another person in that the efficiency levels just go through the roof at that point.
Love it. Love it. Finally, let's talk about you. That's the last letter in the acronym EASY, you.
Yeah, you. And that's you want to leave the critical stuff to yourself. So you're only spending time what is making you money. For example, like you use the doctor analogy all the time.
Yeah.
I had a medical procedure not too long ago where I never saw the doctor until I went into that procedure room, that operating room.
Yeah.
I never saw him. The scheduler called me, set up the appointment. The lady the person that handled the insurance, they called me. We got all that taken care of. When I went to the facility, the doctor wasn't there checking me in. It was, somebody behind the desk. It wasn't until I actually went in there for the procedure that I actually saw the doctor.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's
and by the way, Jim, nobody would say, well, gee, I got ripped off. I wish the doctor had called me to go through the insurance stuff, and I wish he had greeted me at the counter. Nobody would think that. That's not how we do things. The professional does the professional stuff.
Yeah. And that's what I've learned is you leave all the stuff that is not absolutely critical to be done by you. You either automate it or you staff it out.
Very cool. Very cool.
And what that does is take a 50-hour week that you were working and turn it to a 25-hour week.
Yeah. And what most appraisers would do at that point is they would fill that back up to 50 very quickly because they're not used to it. In fact, in all honesty, Jim, a lot of appraisers, listeners to this program are going to hear this. I think all of this is going to ring true to them. They're going to go, yeah, that's right. That's true. That's accurate. That's good. And then what, Jim?
But how do I start, right?
Right, exactly.
So the first thing that you need to do is white piece of cardboard or something. I tell people to get a big piece of cardboard and then sticky notes and then write out all your procedures that on a typical case, everything that from start to finish that has to be done.
Now, wait a second. I'm going to pause you for just a second because you say write out your procedures. And I think most appraiser listeners are going to say, what procedures? I don't have any procedures.
Yeah. So that's your first goal. That's your first thing that you need to
develop them, right? Because we all have them. We just don't have them written out, right?
Right. So, I mean, actually, that's what when I left Fannie Mae and I was starting new and we had all this new technology that I'd never used before, that's what I did was write out, okay, what is it going to take to do an appraisal these days, the modern world? How do I do this? How do I do that? And it was just a procedures, just one right after the other. And when I talk to people, that's the first thing I ask them. Do you have your procedures written out somewhere? And not many people have it.
No.
I said, okay, we can't break a 4-minute mile if we don't know how fast we're running a mile right now.
Very good. I love it. I love it. What about Jim? What about the appraiser who's going to resist this and say, you know what, Jim, I've done it this way my whole life. I'm 62 years old. Retirement is another 8 years for me, or whatever it is. I just don't see myself changing much. What would you say to that appraiser?
I would say to them, and I've had this conversation with a few people, it was like, start slow. Well, I don't want to I like my clipboard and paper and my point and shoot camera.
Mm-hmm.
And I say, okay, let's start small. Let me download Total for Mobile for you since you're using it, and let's just start with that. And it's amazing how that one little spark.
Yeah.
A couple weeks later, they'll come back, I'll get an email or whatever, and say, this is the greatest thing ever. I don't have to label my photos. I don't have to worry about a camera. And then I say, okay, then let's do this next phase. Ooh, this is really nice. I like that. And it may be something like incorporating Spark. I've had people saying, I can't trust Spark or one of the data import services. I just can't trust the data. And I tell them, all that program is doing is hitting Control-C, Control-V on your keyboard, but doing it
for you
1,000 times faster than you're able to do it. That's all it does.
Exactly. So what I'm hearing from you, Jim, is start slow, start little, and this stuff speeds up and it cycles.
Yeah, and it's just it builds upon itself, and all of a sudden you're like me, and I no longer spend 5-6 hours on a report. I spend way less.
Yeah, for sure. Jim, thank you for joining us. Next week, we're going to be talking again with you. We're going to be talking about bulletproofing your appraisal business. In the meanwhile, if you want more of what Jim has to share, he and I did a webinar recently that you can find on my website, theappraisercoach.com. Go to products and scroll down a little bit, but find the program called Unlock the Full Potential of Total. Save up to 100 hours per year. Folks, I guarantee you that 100 hours per year is a huge understatement. Again, it's a new webinar, Unlock the Full Potential of Total. It's only $59, folks. Trust me, it is well worth your time. Jim, thank you for joining me today, my friend.
You're welcome. It was great to talk to you, Dustin.
We will see you next week.
You've been listening to the Appraiser Coach podcast with Dustin Harris. If you like what you hear, please give us a 5-star rating and post a short review on iTunes. For more in-depth insider information on how you can make more money as a real estate appraiser, visit theappraisercoach.com and sign up for the All-Star team today. Thanks for joining us. And now, get out there and create some value.